6 months passed since Earth left the Galactic Council. Life went on. Humans focused on their own worlds and problems. They built more ships and made their borders strong. Then the news came from far away. The Morvaxian horde had attacked the edge of Council space. The Morvaxians looked like giant bugs with hard shells and many legs. They had been quiet for many years. Now they were back and they had many ships. Alan Lewis sat at his desk in the Earth Intelligence Center. He was the man in charge of knowing what happened in space. He was short with red hair and always wore a black suit. He looked at the reports on his screen and frowned. "How bad is it?" asked the woman who had just walked in. She was General Mary Foster, head of Earth's Defense Forces. "Bad," said Alan. "The Morvaxians have taken 4 Council worlds already. Their ships are faster than before. Their weapons are stronger." "And the Council?" asked Mary. Alan shook his head. "They're a mess. Each race is trying to protect its own worlds first. They're not working together. The Morvaxians are picking them off one by one." Mary looked at the map on the wall. It showed stars and planets and the paths of ships. "How long until they reach human space?" 3 weeks, maybe less," said Alan. "They'll hit the Proxima Centauri colonies first." Mary nodded. Proxima Centauri was the closest star to Earth's sun. Humans had built homes there years ago. "Have they asked for our help yet, the Council?" "No," said Alan. "They're too proud, but they will." In a tall building in New Chicago, Dr. Lisa Pearson watched her screen too. She was the best human expert on Morvaxians. She had studied them for 20 years. Now she watched videos of their ships attacking Council worlds. She saw the fire and smoke. She saw people running. Her phone rang. The screen said Pentagon. That meant the military needed her. "Dr. Pearson," she answered. "Doctor, we need you right away," said a man's voice. "The president is meeting with her top people in 1 hour. We need to know everything about the Morvaxians, what they want, how they think, how to stop them." "I'll be there," said Lisa. She turned off her screen and began to pack her bag. As she worked, she thought about the Morvaxians. They were not evil, not really. They were just different. They thought in groups, not as single people. They did not see other races as real people, just things in their way. She had told the Council this years ago. She had said the Morvaxians needed to be watched all the time, but the Council had not listened. They thought the Morvaxians were not a danger anymore. Now everyone would pay for that mistake. On the 19th day after the Morvaxian attacks began, a message came to Earth. It was from the Galactic Council. It was short. "The Council requests humanity's assistance in the current conflict. Terms negotiable." President Olivia Clark read the message in the Oval Office. With her were Alan Lewis, Mary Foster, and other top leaders. She read it twice, then looked up. "They don't say please," she said. "They don't say they're sorry for how they treated us. They just expect us to come running when they call." "Do we answer?" asked a man in a gray suit. He was Sam Wilson, the vice president. "Of course we answer," said Olivia. "But we don't say yes right away. We make them wait, just like they made us wait all those years." She pressed a button on her desk. "Send this message. We'll consider your request after reviewing the full tactical situation." "Will we help them?" asked Mary. Olivia nodded. "Yes. Not for them, but for us. If the Morvaxians beat the Council, they'll come for us next. But the Council needs to learn that humans are not their servants. We are their equals, or we are nothing to them at all." In space, human ships began to move. They had been ready for months, just waiting for the order. Now they moved toward the edge of human space, toward where the Morvaxians would come from. One of these ships was the UES Defiant. UES meant United Earthship. The captain was Ryan Peterson, a tall man with dark skin and serious eyes. He sat in his command chair and watched his crew work. They were the best, all of them. They had trained for years for this. "Status report," he said. "All systems green, Captain," said a young woman at a control panel. Her name was Beth Rogers. "Engines at full power," Weapons ready, shields at maximum. Ryan nodded. The shields were new. The council did not know about them. Humans had kept many secrets these last few years. Now those secrets might save lives. Message from Command Captain, said another crew member. This was Jim Garcia, the communications officer. We are to proceed to the Epsilon Eridani system and assess the situation. The Morvaxians are attacking the council outpost there. Set course maximum speed, said Ryan, and tell all ships in our group to follow. The Defiant turned in space, its engines glowing blue. Behind it, 30 other ships turned too. They formed a line, then a wedge. Then they all jumped to hyperspace, leaving Earth behind in a flash of light. On the council hub station, a great meeting was happening. Aliens from all over the galaxy sat around a huge table. They were scared. The Morvaxians had beaten their ships too easily. We should have listened to the humans, said one alien. She looked like a tall fox standing on two legs. The humans were right about the Morvaxians, said another, a being made of blue crystal. They said the Horde was building ships in secret. They said we needed to be ready. It is too late for that now, said a third alien, a Jiraxian with clear skin. Now we must hope the humans will help us, even though we did not help them. At the end of the table sat Klevik, the old Tellurian. He had been quiet, listening. Now he spoke. The humans will come, he said. Not because we ask, not because we are sorry. They will come because it is their nature to fight, to protect, even to protect those who have not been kind to them. How? Can you be sure? Asked the Jiraxian. Klevik smiled a small smile. Because I have studied humans for 100 years. They are young, yes. They are wild, yes. But they are also brave and clever. And they do not run from a fight. Back on Earth in the big room under the ground, John Miller looked at the latest reports. The Morvaxians had taken 2 more worlds. They were getting closer. Susan Grant came to stand next to him. She had been Earth's voice at the council. Now she helped plan Earth's own path. Do you think we should have stayed? She asked John. With the council? Could we have stopped this from happening? John thought about it. Maybe, maybe not. They didn't listen to us before. Would they have listened if we warned them about the Morvaxians? Susan shook her head. Probably not. They only listen now because they're afraid. Fear is a good teacher, said John. But it teaches hard lessons. A young man ran into the room. Captain Miller, Ms. Grant, the president wants you both right, away. The council has sent another message. They're offering us a seat at the high table if we help them. John and Susan looked at each other. The high table was where the oldest and most powerful races sat. It was a big offer. What did the president say? Asked Susan. The young man smiled. She said to tell them we'll think about it while we save their worlds. In deep space, the human fleet came out of hyperspace near Epsilon Eridani. The system had 5 planets and many moons. One planet had a council outpost on it. The outpost was under attack. Captain Ryan Peterson looked at the screen in front of him. It showed 20 Morvaxian ships firing on the outpost. The outpost shields were almost gone. All ships form up, said Ryan. Weapons ready, but hold fire until I give the word. Lieutenant Rogers, open a channel to the Morvaxian fleet. Channel. Open, sir, said Beth. Ryan took a deep breath. This is Captain Peterson of the Earth Fleet. You are attacking civilians and people who cannot fight back. Stop now or face the results. The Morvaxians did not answer with words. They answered with weapons. Bright beams of light shot from their ships toward the human fleet. Shields holding, sir, said Beth. They can't hurt us. Ryan nodded. The Morvaxians didn't know about the new human shields. No one did until now. They've made their choice, said Ryan. All ships, attack plan Delta. Let's show them how humans fight. The human ships moved forward, their engines bright against the dark of space. The fight for the galaxy had begun. The UES Defiant led the human fleet toward the Morvaxian ships. Captain Ryan Peterson stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The enemy ships were shaped like long bugs with sharp points sticking out. All ships, combat formation. Delta, Ryan said into his communicator. Weapons hot, but hold fire until my command. Lieutenant Beth Rogers worked at her station, her fingers moving fast over the controls. Formation Delta confirmed, Captain. All ships in position. Ryan nodded to Lieutenant Jim Garcia. Open a channel to the Morvaxian flagship. Jim pressed some buttons. Channel open, sir. Ryan spoke clearly. This is Captain Peterson of the Earth Fleet. You are fighting against people who cannot fight back. Leave now or face what happens next. The screen flickered and showed a Morvaxian. Its face had big eyes and moving parts around its mouth. It clicked and hissed in its own language. Then the computer turned those sounds into words. Humans not. Part of Council. Humans stay away. This not human fight. You made it our fight when you threatened our neighbors, said Ryan. Last chance. Leave this system now. The Morvaxian made a sound like angry clicks. Then the screen went dark. They've fired on us, Captain, said Beth. The ship shook a little as something hit it. Shields holding at 100%, said another crew member. Ryan's face was calm. Well, they've made their choice. All ships, execute battle plan Thermopylae. The human ships began to move in a way no one had seen before. They split into 3 groups. Each group had a job. Some would protect, some would attack, some would trick the enemy. On the Council hub station far away, aliens watched the battle on big screens. They saw the human ships move with perfect order. They saw how the ships worked together like they could read each other's minds. How do they do that? Asked a Jraxian with clear skin. How do they know what each ship will do? Klevik, the old Tellurian, watched with wise eyes. Humans train together, they plan together. They think about every possible thing that could happen in a fight, then they practice what to do. But the Morvaxians have more ships, said another alien. And bigger weapons. Klevik nodded. Yes. But humans don't fight with just ships and guns. They fight with their minds. Watch and see. Back in the battle, the Morvaxian ships fired again and again at the human fleet, but the human shields held strong. The humans didn't fire back right away. They moved their ships into special positions first. Now, said Ryan on the Defiant. All ships, fire pattern Alpha. From every human ship, bright beams of light shot out. Each beam hit a specific spot on a Morvaxian ship, not the main part but small parts sticking out. What are they doing? Asked an alien on the Council hub. They're shooting off the Morvaxian's sensor arrays, said Klevik, making them blind. The Morvaxian ships began to move in a confused way. They couldn't see well now. They fired their weapons, but most shots missed. Second wave, begin attack run, said Ryan. 10 human ships broke away from the main group. They flew in a tight line straight at the biggest Morvaxian ships. Just before they hit, they split up and flew around the enemy ships, firing as they went. Third wave, deploy the drones, Ryan ordered. From several human ships, small objects flew out. Hundreds of them, each no bigger than a human hand. They moved toward the Morvaxian fleet. What are those? Asked the Jraxian on the hub. I don't know, said Klevik. The humans have kept many secrets. The small drones reached the Morvaxian ships. They attached themselves to the hulls. Then they began to drill. Inside the Morvaxian ships, alarms rang. The crews ran to fix the holes appearing in their ships. But there were too many holes in too many places. Air began to leak out. Systems began to fail. Main Morvaxian fleet is pulling back, said Beth on the Defiant. They're running away, Captain. Ryan nodded. Let them go. Focus fire on the ships, still attacking the outpost. The human fleet turned its attention to the 5 Morvaxian ships still firing on the Council outpost. With quick, hard strikes, they disabled each ship. Enemy ships neutralized, Captain, said Beth. The outpost is safe. Ryan let out a long breath. Casualties? 2 of our ships have damage, sir, said Jim. The Phoenix has some hull breaches. The Valiant lost an engine, but no ships lost, no crew lost. Ryan smiled a small smile. Send ships to help the Phoenix and Valiant. Tell all other ships to form a defense perimeter around the outpost and open a channel to whoever's in charge down there. On the screen, a face appeared. It was a Tellurian, like Klivik, but younger. He looked surprised. This is Jordan, administrator of Epsilon Outpost. Who am I speaking with? Captain Ryan Peterson, United Earth Fleet. We received your distress call and responded. Jordan's eyes were wide. But humans left the council. Why would you help us? Ryan's face was serious. Because it was the right thing to do. Are your people safe? Do you need medical help? We have many injured, said Jordan. Our medical center is damaged. We'll send help right away, said Ryan, and we'll stay until you're secure. After the screen went dark, Jim looked at his captain. Sir, we just used a lot of our new weapons. The council has seen them now. They know what we can do. Ryan nodded. Good. Now they know not to underestimate humans again. On the council hub, the room was very quiet. The aliens had watched the whole battle. They had seen how fast the humans won, how they used weapons and plans no one knew about. They could have shown us these things before, said the Jiraxian. They could have shared this technology. Klivik shook his head. Would you have listened? Or would you have called them too aggressive, too warlike? The humans offered their knowledge many times. You always said no. We must speak with Earth right away, said another council member. We must bring them back to the council with full honors. It may be too late for that, said Klivik. Humans do not forget being pushed aside. They may help us because it is right, but they will not come running back just because you ask. Far away from the battle, in a hidden place at the edge of the galaxy, other eyes watched. These belonged to races even the council feared. The Kelbraxians, with their stone-like skin. The void hegemony who lived in the dark between stars. The Saurian collective with their sharp teeth and faster-than-light minds. They had watched the Morvaxians attack. They had watched the council fail to defend itself. Now they watched the humans show power no one knew they had. The humans are stronger than we thought, said a Kelbraxian leader. His voice was like rocks grinding together. It changes nothing, said a void being. The Morvaxians were just the first wave. A test. Now we know what the humans can do. We will plan accordingly. Should we delay the main attack? Asked a Saurian. No, said the void being. We attack as planned. The council is still weak. The humans are few. They cannot stand against all of us together. Back on Earth, President Olivia Clark sat in the war room with her advisors. They watched the reports from the Epsilon Eridani system. The fleet performed perfectly, said Admiral Frank Jones. The Morvaxians didn't know what hit them. And now the council knows what we can do, said Alan Lewis, the intelligence director. They've sent 3 more messages asking for talks. Olivia nodded. Tell them we're busy defending their worlds. We'll talk when we have time. Susan Grant, who had been Earth's voice at the council, smiled at this. They won't like that answer. They don't have to like it, said Olivia. They just have to understand it. For too long they treated us like children asking for a seat at the grown-ups' table. Now they see we were holding back, being polite. Now they see what humans can really do. The Morvaxians will be back, said Frank. With more ships, they don't give up easily. Neither do we, said Olivia. Send in the second fleet. I want every council world within reach to have human ships defending it. Not because the council asked, but because it's our galaxy too. And we protect what's ours. In space, more human ships moved out from Earth. They headed to different stars, different worlds. They carried weapons and supplies and people ready to help. On the Defiant, Captain Ryan Peterson looked out at the stars. He thought about the battle they had just won. He thought about the battles still to come. Captain, said Jim Garcia, we're getting strange readings from the long-range sensors. There's something big moving out there, beyond the edge of council, space. Ryan walked over to look at Jim's screen. How big? Very big, sir. Hundreds of ships, maybe more. And they're not Morvaxian. Ryan's face grew serious. Contact Earth Command right away. Tell them we may have a bigger problem than we thought." As the Defiant sent its message, the stars seemed to watch in silence. The galaxy was changing. Old powers were falling. New alliances were forming. And at the center of it all were the humans, who had walked away from the table but not from the fight. In his quiet room on the council hub, Klevik looked at the stars too. His race was old, and they knew how to see patterns others missed. He saw a pattern now, a dark one. The Morvaxians were not acting alone. Someone was pushing them, using them. The real war, he said softly to himself, has not even begun. 1 week after the battle at Epsilon Eridani, a special ship arrived at Earth. It was smooth and silver with no weapons showing. It was a council diplomatic vessel. Inside was Jin Tora, the head of council security. He looked like a tall lizard, standing on 2 legs. His scales were blue with gold patterns. Earth sent an honor guard to meet the ship. They wore clean uniforms but carried real weapons. The message was clear: "We welcome you, but we are always ready." "Welcome to Earth, Administrator Jin Tora," said a woman in a black suit. Her name was Kelly Roberts, an aide to the president. "Please follow me, the president is waiting." Jin Tora nodded his long head. "Thank you for seeing me so quickly. The matter is urgent." They drove through Washington, D.C. in a long black car. Jin Tora looked out the window at the human city. It was both old and new at the same time. Stone buildings stood next to towers of glass. People walked and talked and went about their lives. "Your people seem so calm," said Jin Tora. "Do they not know about the war?" Kelly smiled a small smile. "They know. But humans have faced danger before. We don't panic, we prepare." The car stopped at the Pentagon, a huge building shaped like a 5-sided star. Inside, they went through many security checks. Scanners looked at their faces, their hands, their whole bodies. Machines made sure they carried no weapons or dangerous things. "Your security is very good," said Jin Tora. "Better than the council hub." "We've had to be careful for a long time," said Kelly. Finally, they reached a big room deep inside the building. Around a large table sat important humans. President Olivia Clark was there. So was Defense Secretary Paul Bennett, a large man with a bald head. Intelligence Director Alan Lewis was there too, watching Jin Tora with sharp eyes. "Administrator," said Olivia, standing to greet him. "Thank you for coming all this way." "Thank you for seeing me," said Jin Tora. "The council has sent me to ask for our help," said Olivia. "Yes, we know. The council has sent many messages. But first, we have something to show you," she nodded to Paul Bennett. He pressed a button on the table. In the air above them, a picture appeared. It showed the solar system, Earth's home. Then it changed to show many ships hidden behind planets and moons. "This is our home fleet," said Paul. 150 ships that never leave the solar system. They are our last line of defense. The picture changed again. Now it showed structures built inside asteroids and small moons. "These are our hidden bases," said Paul. "We built them in secret over the last 20 years. Each one can fix ships, make weapons, and house thousands of people if Earth itself is ever attacked." Jin Tora's eyes were wide. "The council had no idea you had built so much." "That was the point," said Alan Lewis. "You didn't listen when we talked, so we stopped talking and started building." The picture changed one more time. Now it showed giant machines on Earth and other planets in the system. "These are shield generators," said Paul. "If turned on, they can cover a whole planet in an energy shield. Nothing gets in or out without our say-so." Jin Tora looked confused. "Why show me these things now? These are your greatest secrets." Secretary Bennett's face was serious. "Because the Morvaxians aren't the real threat. They're just the first wave." Director Lewis stood up and changed the picture again. Now it showed long-range scans of deep space. Many dots of light moved toward council space. "The Kilbraxians, the Void Hegemony, the Saurian Collective, they've formed an alliance," Lewis explained. "They've been watching the council grow weak and lazy, waiting for the right time to attack. The Morvaxian attack was just a test of your defenses." Jin Tora's scales turned a pale blue. "This cannot be true. These races hate each other. They would never work together." They hate the council more, said Olivia. And they saw their chance when we left. A divided galaxy is easy to conquer. The council worlds will fall in months, said Jintora, his voice shaking. We don't have the ships or weapons to fight this. President Clark stood up straight. That's why you're here, Administrator. Not because you need our ships, but because you need what made us leave in the first place, our way of thinking. Meanwhile, on a planet far from Earth, Dr. Lisa Pearson worked in a makeshift lab. The planet was a council world called Navara. The Morvaxians had attacked it but been driven off by human ships. Now Lisa and her team were studying a captured Morvaxian ship. Look at this, she said to a young man working with her. His name was Peter Kelly. The control systems have been changed. These aren't standard Morvaxian designs. Peter looked at the strange curves and marks on the ship's controls. Who made these changes? That's what we need to find out, said Lisa. The Morvaxians aren't smart enough to make these improvements themselves. Someone is helping them. Someone who wants the council to fall. On another part of the planet, Captain John Miller walked through a refugee camp. Thousands of aliens who had fled the fighting now lived in tents and simple buildings. Human doctors and aid workers moved among them, giving food and medicine. Small alien child ran up to John. It had fur and big eyes. Are you a human? It asked in broken English. John smiled and knelt down. Yes, I am. My name is John. I'm Pip, said the child. My parents say humans saved us. They say humans are the strongest. John shook his head. Not the strongest, just the most stubborn. We don't like bullies and we don't give up. Pip's big eyes blinked. Will the bad ones come back? They might, said John, but if they do, we'll be ready. Now where are your parents? Let's find them. As John helped Pip find his family, a message came to his communicator. It was from Susan Grant. John, come back to the command center right away. Earth has sent new orders. Everything is changing. Back on Earth, Jintora sat with the human leaders. They had shown him more plans and maps. They had explained how humans thought the coming war should be fought. This is not how the council fights, said Jintora. We do not use these tactics. That's why you're losing, said Admiral Frank Jones. He had joined the meeting by video, from his ship in space. The Morvaxians knew exactly what you would do, exactly how you. The newly formed Human Council Joint Command Center buzzed with activity. It was on a space station near the border of human and council space. Screens covered the walls. They showed stars, planets, and the movement of thousands of ships. Admiral Frank Jones stood with Zendri, the council fleet master. Zendri looked like a tall human but with silver skin that reflected light like metal. They were looking at a big map of the galaxy. The enemy has 3 main attack groups, said Frank, pointing at red dots on the map. Here, here, and here, they're trying to split our forces. We don't have enough ships to defend all these worlds, said Zendri. His voice had a musical quality to it. We're not going to defend, said Frank. We're going to attack. Zendri looked surprised. Attack? But they outnumber us 3-1. Frank smiled a small smile. Numbers aren't everything in war. Sometimes it's about being where the enemy doesn't expect you to be. On the other side of the room, Dr. Lisa Pearson worked with a team of alien scientists. They were building a new communication system. It would let the different ships of the combined fleet talk to each other better and faster. The translation, Matrix needs to be stronger. Lisa told a blue alien with 4 arms. The Kelbraxians use subsonic frequencies in their language. Our system needs to catch those. The alien nodded, its 4 hands moving quickly over a control panel. I see the problem. We can fix it by adjusting the quantum resonance. Lisa smiled. Just a few months ago, humans and council races barely shared any technology. Now they were building new systems together. Sometimes it took a common enemy to make friends out of strangers. In another part of the station, Susan Grant walked into a large room. It was the council chamber, but very different from before. Now humans sat at the same table as council members. Not below them, not as visitors, but as equals. The combined fleet is almost ready, Susan told the gathered aliens and humans. Admiral, Jones and Fleetmaster Zendri have finished the battle plans. These plans use human tactics, said a Jiraxian with clear skin. They are very aggressive. Yes, said Susan. Because that's what's needed now. The enemy expects the Council to fight the way it always has. Careful, defensive, following the old rules of war. We won't do that. Humans didn't develop in empty space, she continued. We evolved on a world full of dangers. We fought tribes against tribes, nations against nations. We know war in our bones. That's why we value peace so deeply, because we know the cost of fighting. The council members were quiet. Then Klevik, the old Tellurian, spoke. She is right. We have been too set in our ways, too sure that our old methods would always work. That is why the enemy caught us by surprise. One by one, the other council members nodded. They didn't all agree with the human way, but they knew they needed to try something new, or they would lose everything. Far away in the Tau Ceti star system, the first big battle of the new war was about to start. Captain Ryan Peterson stood on the bridge of the Defiant. Around his ship were 20 other human vessels. Nearby, 15 council ships floated in space. Is everyone clear on the battle plan? Ryan asked over the communication system. Human. Ships are ready, said Lieutenant Beth Rogers from her station. Council ships report ready as well, said Jim Garcia, the communications officer. But they're nervous. They've never fought this way before. Ryan nodded. Tell them they'll do fine. We've practiced. We're ready. Just then, the sensors lit up. Enemy ships were coming out of hyperspace. There were over 100 of them. Some were the bug-like Morvaxian ships. Others were gray stone ships of the Kelbraxians. Some were almost invisible, the shadow ships of the Void Hegemony. And some were sleek and fast, the vessels of the Saurian Collective. All ships battle formation Omega, said Ryan. Remember the plan. Let them think they have us trapped. Let them think they're winning. Then we show them what humans and the Council can do together. The battle began. The enemy ships moved forward in a wide line. They fired their weapons, bright beams of energy shooting across space. The human and Council ships moved back as if retreating. They're pushing us toward the fourth planet, said Beth. Just as we expected. Good, said Ryan. Spring the trap. On my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. Suddenly, the human and Council ships stopped retreating. They split into 4 smaller groups that moved in different directions. At the same time, 20 more ships appeared from behind the nearby planet. They had been hiding there, waiting. Attack pattern Delta, said Ryan. Target their command ships first. The human and Council ships moved with perfect order, like they had fought together for years. They focused their fire on specific enemy ships, taking them down one by one. On the enemy flagship, a Saurian commander hissed in anger. How are they doing this? The Council ships never fought like this before. It's the humans, said a Kelbraxian officer. They've taught the Council new ways to fight. It doesn't matter, said the Saurian. We still have more ships. We will win by numbers alone. But as the battle went on, more Council ships arrived. They had been called from nearby star systems. The trap was closing, but not on the human and Council forces. It was closing on the invaders. Enemy ships are trying to retreat, said Beth on the Defiant. Don't let them, said Ryan. If they escape, they'll just come back with more ships. We need to show them that this alliance is strong. The battle lasted for hours. Ships were damaged, on both sides. Some were destroyed. But in the end, the combined human and Council fleet won. Not a total victory, but an important one. It was the first time the invaders had been stopped. After the battle, Ryan stood on the observation deck of the Defiant. He looked out at the stars and the damaged ships being repaired. Next to him stood Klevik, the Tellurian ambassador. He had come to see the battle himself. You knew this would happen, said Ryan. That's why you objected when we left the Council. Klevik's ancient eyes reflected the starlight. I suspected. My race has watched civilizations rise and fall for many thousands of years. The Council needed humanity not despite your warlike past, but because of it. We didn't want to fight, said Ryan. We just wanted to be heard. Sometimes, said Klevik, one must walk away to be truly seen. Back on Earth, President Olivia Clark addressed a special meeting. The United Nations and representatives from the Galactic Council were there. It was the first time such a meeting had happened on Earth. The galaxy has changed forever, said Olivia, not because humans left the talks, but because we've all finally learned to listen to each other. The enemy thought they could use our division against us. Instead, they've united us in ways they never imagined. She walked across the stage, looking at the faces watching her, human and alien, different in so many ways, but now working together. This war is not over, she continued. There will be hard days ahead. We will lose ships. We will lose people we care about. But we will not lose our freedom, our worlds, or our future. Because now we stand together, not as master and servant, not as teacher and student, but as equals. Sir. Room filled with applause and other sounds of approval from the many different beings there. It was a new day for Earth and for the galaxy. In space, the war continued. There were victories and defeats on both sides. The enemy alliance was strong and had been planning this war for years. But they had not planned for humans and the Council to work together. That had changed everything. On a council world called Vex, John Miller helped rebuild a city that had been attacked. Human engineers worked alongside council builders. They used Earth methods mixed with alien technology. This will be stronger than before, John told a local leader. The buildings can now survive attacks that would have destroyed them last year. The alien, who looked like a tall plant with eyes on stalks, nodded its top part. Our world thanks Earth for its help. We did not always understand humans before. We do now. John smiled as he watched humans and aliens working together. Sometimes, the best way to make friends is to face trouble together. In shipyards across human and council space, new vessels were being built. They were designed by teams of human and alien engineers. They had the best features of both worlds. Some had council hyperdrives, which were faster than human ones. Others had human shields, which were stronger. All had new weapons that neither humans nor the council had made before. In schools on 100 planets, children of all races learned the story. They learned how the galaxy almost fell, how old enemies became friends, how sometimes the best way to be heard is to walk away, and how in the darkest hour, it was not the strongest or the oldest who saved the day, but those who were willing to think in new ways. Dr. Lisa Pearson finished her work on the new communication system. It was now being installed on all ships of the combined fleet. It would let them coordinate in ways the enemy could not match. It's amazing what we can do when we work together, she told her alien colleagues. Your knowledge of quantum fields and our understanding of AI. Neither of us could have built this alone. Perhaps that is the lesson of all this, said a crystalline being who had been working with her. No one race has all the answers. We need each other. 1 year after humans had walked out of the council, the combined fleet won a major victory. They pushed the enemy back to the edge of known space. The invasion was not over, but for the first time there was real hope. Captain John Miller stood by the large window of the Galactic Council chamber. His blue uniform was neat and perfect, but his face showed his anger. This was the third time in 3 months that the council had ignored what humans had to say. The chamber was huge. Seats rose in circles around a center stage. Creatures of all kinds sat in those seats. Some had many arms, some looked like giant bugs, some were made of light or gas, but all of them had one thing in common right now. None of them were listening to the humans. Humans are too wild, said the Jiraxian speaker. His skin was clear like glass and his 8 arms moved as he talked. They fight wars. They build weapons. They are not ready to help make big choices for the galaxy. John looked at Susan Grant. She was Earth's top speaker at these talks. Her gray suit matched her short gray hair. Her green eyes were sharp and clear. She had been calm for hours, but now she stood up. For 30 years, Susan said in a strong, clear voice, we have tried to be your friends. For 30 years, you have treated us like we are too young to understand. That ends today." The room got very quiet. Susan picked up her papers and tablet. She put them in her bag. Then she looked at John and the other humans and gave a small nod. They all began to pack up their things. "What are you doing?" asked a blue alien with 3 eyes. "We are leaving," said Susan. "Earth is done trying to talk to people who will not listen." "You cannot leave," said the Jiraxian. "The council needs all races to work together." Susan smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "You should have thought of that before. Good day." She turned and walked out of the room. John and the other humans followed her. They did not look back, even when some council members called for them to stop. In the hall outside, Susan let out a long breath. "Do you think they will understand what we just did?" she asked John. "Some will," he said. "The smart ones. Only one person stayed behind. He was not human. He was Klevik, from the Tellurian race. His people were old when Earth was young. He watched the humans leave, then turned to his helper. They don't know what they've done," he said in a soft voice. Back on Earth, the president of the United Earth government stood in front of many screens and cameras. Her name was Olivia Clark. She wore a dark red suit and had short brown hair. Her face was serious. "Today, I must tell you that Earth has left the Galactic Council," she said to billions of people watching. "For too long, we have been ignored. For too long, our ideas have been pushed aside. We have called all our people home from alien worlds. We will now take care of ourselves and our own space. In towns and cities all over Earth, people watched their screens. Some were angry, some were scared, some were happy. But all of them knew that something big had changed. Far above Earth, in space stations and building yards, things were happening. Ships that had been half-built for years were now being finished. Weapons that had been ideas on paper were now being made real. Admiral Frank Jones stood in a big room full of maps and plans. He was tall and had gray hair cut very short. His blue eyes looked at the papers spread out on the table. They showed plans for war, plans he had hoped never to use. "Let's hope we never need these," he said to the woman next to him. Her name was Carol Hayes, and she was his second in command. "But if we do, we'll be ready." "Do you think the council will try to force us back?" Carol asked. Frank shook his head. "No, they don't have the will for that kind of fight, but there are others out there, others who might see us alone and think we are weak." In the council chamber, the meeting went on. Many of the members seemed happy that the humans were gone. Humans asked too many hard questions. Humans did not follow the old ways. Humans were trouble. "Order will be easier to keep now," said one member. "The humans will come back when they realize they need us," said another. But Klevik, the old Tellurian, did not agree. His race had seen many things in their long life among the stars. They had seen young races grow. They had seen old ones fall. "You do not understand," he said, his voice soft but strong enough to make everyone listen. "Humans are not like us. When they are pushed away, they do not come back weaker. They come back stronger, and sometimes they do not come back at all until it is too late for those who pushed them away." No one answered him. The council went back to their talk of trade and old arguments. But some of them felt a small touch of fear at his words. On Earth, in a room deep under the ground, John Miller met with other captains and leaders. They looked at maps of the stars and the space around Earth. "We have ships here, here, and here," said John, pointing. "We have bases on the Moon, Mars, and Europa. We have friends among some alien races who might still talk to us, but we are alone now in many ways." A woman named Lisa Pearson spoke up. She was a doctor who knew more about alien life than almost anyone on Earth. "Not all races in the council hate us. Some just don't speak up because they're afraid." "Afraid of what?" asked another captain. "Afraid of change," said Lisa. "Humans change fast, we learn fast, we build fast, it scares them." John nodded. He had seen that fear in the eyes of many council members. "Then we'll have to show them that change can be good, that humans can be good neighbors, even if we're not part of their club anymore." As the meeting went on, satellites above Earth watched the stars. They looked for danger. They looked for friends. They looked for anything that might mean trouble for Earth. And far away, at the edge of Council space, something was moving. Something that would soon make the Council wish they had listened to the humans after all.